All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis, the Thursday, the NFL edition of Unqualified Analysis, as we are just balls deep. Man, I hate to have said that 10 seconds into the podcast, but here we are. We are deep in the thick of football season already. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks at this point, but man, things are happening across the league. I'm talking about exploding knees. I'm talking about the Vikings being just absolutely terrible in several aspects of the team. We'll talk about that like very, very quickly. I mean, we got all sorts of stuff going on, man. We're talking about, I mean, the Lions losing to the Seahawks. I mean, we'll talk about that and much, much more today on Unqualified Analysis. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. I don't even got caffeine next to me today. I'm feeling kind of energetic. I got a full belly of spaghetti and meat sauce. I got my Gatorade right next to me. No free ads, but there you go. There's a free ad right there. Don't even need caffeine. I just need electrolytes to keep me going. So I just talked in circles there for an extra 20 seconds. Let's just knock straight into the week 2 recap. Yeah, recap is the word for it, for the NFL season. Jesus Christ, this is starting off slow, isn't it? And might as well rip the Band-Aid off here. It's been a week. Now, when you're hearing this, it'll have been a week since this game was actually played. I'll be the last one to commentate on it. But yeah, let's just pop this thing right open. The Vikings lose to the Eagles. At one point, looked like they were going to lose by a lot. Kirk Cousins had a massive second half, fourth quarter. Brought them almost all the way back in it, but turns out we can't stop a nosebleed on defense. DeAndre Swift ran for like 175 yards. Not like it's 175 yards. I'm staring at it right now. I mean, Justin Jefferson had a massive first half. Kind of went by the wayside a little bit in the second half. He had 159 yards, 10 catches. I think he might be the first player I think ever to have a back-to-back 150-yard receiving games to start the year and have that lead to an 0-2 start. That's unfortunate. Wish that was different. But the problem is the defense just absolutely stinks. They're not very good. The draft picks, I mean, you can look like across the board. I don't know what Mekhi Blackman's doing nowadays. That being the third-round pick in this year's draft. I mean, hey, Jordan Addison looks good on the offensive side, but I mean, you look at Andrew Booth, does he even exist? Does he even play football? I'm not sure. I've never seen him on a football field, so I couldn't tell you. Lewis Seen, almost through no fault of his own. I mean, dude snapped his leg last year in London and then had to, have surgery over the pond. Couldn't come back until he was discharged from the hospital like a week and some change later. Obviously, you come back from one of those, there's a possibility that, maybe you aren't necessarily the same player you were beforehand. And I mean, we had a safety go out of the lineup. I think it was Josh Metellus go out of the lineup the other night. I think this was in the Vikings game, actually. He went out, and they bring in some guy, I think Robinson. I don't think I've ever heard of him before, but he comes in instead of your last year's first-round pick. That's not a good sign. That's definitely not good. So, I mean, really, I think the best hit you've had is fourth-round pick last year, Caleb Evans. Outside of that, I'm thinking like... you got James Lynch, I suppose. That was a solid little draft pick. Another late round guy last year. I mean, these first two drafts for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah as the GM of Minnesota, not great. And granted, he had a couple solid free agent signings, specifically Marcus Davenport, if he can ever get on the field. Hopefully, fingers crossed, knocking on wood, all that sort of stuff. Get the hell out of here, Fruit Fly. Get out of here. Get out of here. Scram, loser. I'm trying to do a podcast right now. I'm just thinking, like, off the top of my head. I mean, he did bring in TJ Hawkinson. He retained what was in place in the first place there. Hasn't done a whole lot in the draft, though. That's half the job of being a GM is the draft. It's not really looked good so far. Maybe Jordan Addison will turn into something that's, maybe you can build around that. But on the defensive side, I mean, we are just bereft of talent. Once again, maybe even less talented than we were last year. I mean, hey, credit where it's due. Ivan Pace looks like an absolute specimen out there, a physical freak on the football field. That's really a disservice to his game. He just plays like with his hair on fire. He's an absolutely fantastic linebacker that we just basically got lucky with. He just fell into our laps. Undrafted rookie free agent. Maybe the best linebacker on the entire team. It is wild to watch there, but of the actual draft picks, man, there is not a whole lot of fruit on the defensive side of the ball. And hell, even a Caleb Evans, who I talked about earlier, being the fourth round pick last year, he had like 3 concussions last year. I mean, hell, he might have had another concussion this year for all I know. But man, it's not looking great so far as far as the drafting and bringing in rookies is concerned for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. And hey, there's time for it to change, but right now that has led to a terrible defense. Even with a better defensive coordinator in Brian Flores, definitely an upgrade over Ed Donatel from last year. Remembered his name that time. I had to just wade through the trauma, get through it in order to get to the name, but I got there eventually. Even with a better defensive coordinator on the staff and Brian Flores, it's just simply not working out. It's not working out. I don't see it getting a whole lot better either because, I mean, Byron Murphy is good. That was a good free agent signing by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah this offseason. So he's good. Outside of that, though, who is the second cornerback right now? It is the cupboard is bare, and even with Harrison Smith back there, Cam Bynum's a solid safety. Josh Metellus flies around. Even with a solid group of safeties, man, that secondary is just so bad. It is porous, and I mean the front seven is it's tissue paper. We got no defensive tackles. Our defensive ends are more pass rushers than they are run stoppers. Like I said, Ivan Pace is an undrafted rookie free agent. He's a fantastic undrafted rookie free agent, but he's probably the best linebacker we got on the team. Not a very good group of linebackers. I mean, we are just getting diced up every which way. And when you can only rush for 69 yards in 2 games, first off, nice, but not really. Definitely not actually nice, because you're sitting there at the end of the day, you got an average of 34.5 yards per game rushing. The interior of the offensive line looks like a mess. Ed Ingram, another guy that, maybe not the greatest draft pick by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, last year's second-round pick at guard. He's looking bad. Ezra Cleveland does kill people, but he also gives up a lot of bad plays on the inside. I mean, Christian Darrisaw's been in and out of the lineup, out for last week with an ankle injury. Hopefully he's back soon, but his backup, Ali Udo, comes in. Not only does he get absolutely demolished by the defensive end, he ruptures his quad. Either ruptures his quad or tears his quad. He's out for the season now. So we signed Dalton Reisner over the past week for the interior of the offensive line. What happens if Christian Darrisaw is out again, though? Are you moving Ezra Cleveland to left tackle? This offensive line situation is just not working out. And credit to Kirk Cousins in the passing game, though, and it's a great testament to how great the weapons are between Hawkinson, Jefferson, Addison being added in the mix, looking spectacular. KJ Osborne, when he can, catch the ball consistently, that was a problem on the course of this game on Thursday night. He's spectacular as well. I mean, the weapons are so good that ultimately it hasn't manifested in a lack of production passing wise. I mean, 360 yards in this one and 4 touchdowns for Kirk Cousins. And no turnovers at that. Well, outside of the strip sack that ultimately cost us 7 points. That's kind of the way things go with Kirk Cousins sometimes. But hey, I liked Kirk Cousins in this game for the most part. It wasn't his fault. What it really came down to, even with all that I just mentioned, it was a 34-28 score. The Vikings could have very easily won this. The problem is they had four lost fumbles in this game. Literally, if you just take away that strip sack on the first possession of the second half that led directly to a touchdown, if you just take away that one, it's a tie game. We might be ahead by 1, either heading into overtime or about to shock the Eagles on their home field. But you lose 4 fumbles. You can't win when you lose 4 fumbles. It's just not going to happen. So I don't know what the Vikings are going to look like throughout the course of this season. It's going to be hard to dig out of an 0-2 start, though, given the schedule that's coming up. I mean, hell, coming up this week, another 0-2 team. We'll get to it at the end of the episode when I do the previews. But, man, playing the Chargers, I mean, I'll give you a little bet right now that it's on hey, also look at me actually preparing. I went through the slate. I got 4 bets for y'all. One of those bets is the over 54.5, or actually it's 53.5. I don't know if it went back up on FanDuel again, but that's what I got it at on FanDuel, over 53.5. They're going to absolutely annihilate that. Both those defenses absolutely stink. Ultimately, this might just be a year where the Vikings are a fun team, but not a very good team. That might end up being the ceiling for this team. I don't see a whole lot of improvement you can make with the personnel holes on the defensive side. I think the offense, I mean, you bring in Cam Akers today as I'm recording this, basically trade a bag of balls, really not even a bag of balls. You literally just give one old tennis ball to Los Angeles Rams, and they're like, deal. What a deal. We're sending this guy over to you. That's how bad they wanted him out of there. And if you want the specific compensation, they swapped the Vikings sent a 6th, and the Rams sent a 7th in not next year. No. That's 2026 when they sent those picks over. So essentially, and you prorate that draft value out because obviously picks in 2024 are going to be more valuable than picks in 2025, which are more valuable than picks in 2026. You prorate that out to basically end of the draft picks. And, that literally a single ball, an old tennis ball that you play fetch with your dog with, the Vikings just sent that over. And what do you know? We got a new running back in there. So maybe he'll help out. It'll at least provide some depth. I don't know if he's going to start, especially not right away over Alexander Mattison. But maybe he can provide some depth behind Alexander Mattison. It's roughly the same scheme that McVay is running over with LA, so Akers should be able to step in. Maybe they change up some terminology or something, but Akers should be able to step in and know the playbook relatively quickly. So I think if the Vikings wanted to make that call right away, they could probably slot Cam Akers in there, but more than anything, it provides depth. So it might be an over machine this year. I kind of talked in circles all over the place on that one, but the Vikings, maybe not that good. Might be an over machine though. Might be a fun year of betting. Not on my team, but with my team. Not the defense, just the offense, I suppose. Either way though, life is pain, existence is suffering. The Eagles are 2-0, but that defense doesn't look awesome. Darius Slay looks all right. The pass rush looks fun. You got to worry about the quarterbacks, though, especially with Avonte Maddox going out for, I believe, the entire season with a pec tear. I think he got surgery on that, went on IR, so he'll probably be done for the year. Bradbury was out last week with a concussion. Once you get one concussion, you might get more concussions after that. It just becomes easier to do so. So that's something you got to keep an eye on as well. I don't think the Eagles are as good as they were last year, but I still think they're probably, if not the best team in the NFC, top 2 or top 3 at the very, very worst. So, the Eagles win this one. That's what good teams do. They were at home, got a little bit hairier than they might have expected, but ended up being a lively football game, if not a heartbreaking one for your boy. But let's move on to the Sunday slate of games. How long did I take on that? My goodness. 13 minutes, not bad, all things considered. I could have gone way, way longer and just talked in a million circles. Let me get a quick sip out of this Gatorade right quick. So naturally, we call our stuff Gatorade. That's from, shout out to that commercial. That's a big time Throwback Thursday, which works out well because this is coming out on a Thursday. But yeah, classic commercial from my childhood on the merits of Gatorade, really the history of Gatorade. It's, not something to worth looking up, but, shout out to those of you who got the reference. First and foremost on the 1 o'clock slate, we got the Packers versus the Falcons. And man, Jordan Love, not a great game in this one. Didn't really have a great game on the other side. Either did Desmond Ridder. This is just a classic sort of Falcons ball here. It ended up being 25-24. Falcons win by 1 point. But Jordan Love got 3 touchdown passes, so good for him there. No interceptions. But man, some of those touchdown passes were it was just like literally you just catch the snap and then just kind of drop it into the hands of the receiver that's coming in jet motion. That was at least one touchdown that I can think of off the top of my head. But ultimately, I mean, Cara Delevingne, I'm sorry, that totally delineated that the American Horror Story advertisement or something like that is up on my screen. No, I don't have an ad blocker. Yes, I am an amateur. Yada, yada, yada. You get it. Let's focus here, people. It was just, I mean, part of the promotion is just Cara Delevingne just staring at the camera and by extension staring deeply into my eyes. And I can't talk about football when Cara Delevingne is just staring menacingly into my eyes like she's going to stab me or something. No. But what was I talking about? Oh yes, Jordan Love had a solid statistical game. A lot of credit there has to go to Matt LaFleur for that one, because he's scheming the hell out of the offense right now this season, folks. That's what I got to say about that. The only thing though is late in the game, I don't know if Jordan Love forgot the snap count. I would assume so, considering his offensive line just didn't move. But it looked like he wanted the ball to be snapped and just ultimately went forward like he was going to do a QB sneak, but didn't have the ball, so he just awkwardly fell to the side of the center, and they get a false start and they have to back up, and that pretty much is what cost them the game. And I didn't watch the entire game, work and whatnot. Will I ever get a weekend day off again? Probably not, but that's neither here nor there. That's why I didn't watch this game, though. I do think, though, I mean, the Falcons absolutely gutted this one out, man. And I think a lot of this can be chalked up to Jordan Love being a little bit inexperienced, and I assume forgetting the snap count. That's a big time mistake there, and a crucial moment that wins are hard to come by in the NFL, and that's one terrible way to let one just slip right through your fingers. But it's one of those things where the Falcons just ended up coming out on the right side. And these are the types of wins you need to come out on the right side of if you are the Falcons and want to win this division. They're 2-0 now. Desmond Ridder, hey, he got 2 touchdowns, so there is that. But hey, maybe what we saw in the other 3 games that weren't the final game of the season are more accurate to what Desmond Ridder is. I don't know that Desmond Ridder is that good, folks. I think he's good enough to win games with them, though, because he doesn't really turn the ball over. No fumble. Did throw an interception, but no fumbles in this one. Just took care of the ball, got 2 touchdowns, and as long as you're getting more touchdowns than what you are giving up as far as turnovers are concerned, it's all kind of water under the bridge. You'd love to have like a quarterback that's a lot more of a plus in the passing game, but having one that's just like meh, that's okay too. I mean, Desmond Ridder isn't the worst starting quarterback in the league right now. That would be one Zachary Wilson over with the New York Jets, who we'll get to here at some point. But I mean, he's good enough to win games. That's pretty much all you need in an Arthur Smith system. One of the best schemers of an offense in the league, maybe the best play caller in the league that's not named Kyle Shanahan right now. He can absolutely scheme up a run game. And Bijan Robinson, we all knew this was going to happen. If you followed him in college, you know how goddamn spectacular Bijan Robinson is, and you knew going to an offense like Arthur Smith's in Atlanta that is more run heavy than just about any other offense in the entire league, you knew for a damn fact that going into that, and also, not only are they the most run-heavy offense in the entire league, they still run at like 5 yards a carry as a team. That's how good Arthur Smith is at scheming up the run. Put Bijan Robinson in that, and it's perfection. It's a beautiful thing to watch. There's a video circulating around on X right now of Bijan Robinson. I don't remember the name of number 55. It's one of those names that is not, a typically English name. It's of I believe African descent. I could be wrong on that, but as such, since I'm a milquetoast white guy, I don't remember those sorts of names very easily. But number 55, I remember his number clear as day. The things that Bijan Robinson did to 55 in the backfield, I mean, the dude looked the wrong direction when he was trying to make the tackle. It was just mean. It was absolutely mean. Bijan Robinson jukes that guy in the backfield. He forgot what dimension he was in. Goes up to the linebacker trying to make a play, jukes him out of his shoes, somehow gets 20 yards in the play after having two guys at either behind the line of scrimmage or like at the line of scrimmage come pretty much free, unblocked, makes both of them miss and somehow gets a 20-yard gain out of that. And that's something that you combine Bijan Robinson and the things that he brings to the table with, I mean, most plays don't work that way for the Atlanta Falcons. Most run schemes are a lot more effortless. It's the same thing you're seeing with Christian McCaffrey with the 49ers. Bijan Robinson plus this running scheme is, I mean, it is something that is beautiful to watch, and I hope I get to keep watching it throughout the entire season. My prediction of the Atlanta Falcons winning this division, I feel more confident in it than ever. I think they, I mean, believe it or not, have the best and most explosive offense in the division. I think that the Saints showed you that they aren't necessarily the most explosive team in the world on Monday night, and that's probably your second best offense, so I think the Falcons have a chance to run away with this division. I don't know if they're that much better than the rest of the competition out there, outside of the Panthers. Man, have they been bad. But, I mean, the Falcons are looking so good this year. Even on the defensive side, not totally letting the game get away from them. I mean, Caden Ellis, big-time free agent acquisition. He got a sack in this one. David Onyemata, another free agent acquisition. He batted 2 passes in this game. You're getting contributions all over. I mean, Jesse Bates is everything as advertised coming in. They have a team that is built much better than it has been over the past couple years. They got weapons when they want to use them. Drake London, the ghost of Kyle Pitts, is out there somewhere. Mac Hollins was a good free agent signing. Hell, even Jonnu Smith, which is kind of a slap to the face to Kyle Pitts, is out there getting 4 catches for 47 yards as well, which is good in this offense that doesn't really feature the passing game. Man, this Falcons team can go a long way so long as that defense holds up. I am looking forward to seeing them against like the cream of the crop of the NFC. Probably should have looked at their schedule to see if and when they come up against that cream of the crop, but man, I am looking forward to it over the course of this season. Let's keep it moving though. That's week 3. We don't need to look at week 3. We'll get to that here at some point. Buffalo beat the hell out of Las Vegas. Josh Allen looks like Josh Allen. Giant shocker there. As I continue to try to, I scrolled to the top of the page, you see, and Cara Delevingne is still there. She's still staring at me, and it is still unsettling. But we're gonna keep it moving right now. Yeah, let's go into Baltimore, Cincinnati. Baltimore ends up winning this one by 3 points. Cincinnati's now 0-2. First game, they got absolutely dominated by the Cleveland Browns. Second game was a tight, a close sort of back and forth game between Baltimore and Cincinnati. It came right down to the wire, as it always seems to between those two teams. But ultimately, really, it wasn't even quite as close as the score would indicate. Baltimore kind of, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, got a 10-point lead, 2-score lead. Nelson Aguilar got a good catch or a good pass from Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson getting another solid performance. I mean, it hasn't quite exploded just yet, but a solid performance from Lamar Jackson in this one. The problem is, man, I'm not sure how healthy Joe Burrow is with that calf right now. He has just not looked fantastic this season, obviously having trouble moving around in the pocket, which is what has made him so good throughout the course of his career. This might end up being one of those seasons, especially in a very heavy competition in the AFC North. They just lost 2 games to the AFC North in the first 2 games of the season. In such a competitive division with no team really being bad, the margin of error being so slim, I think it's clear out of the gate that one, I'm not sure how good really any of these teams are. If and when Joe Burrow gets healthy, they might be either the best or the second best, but it seems like it seems like the Steelers aren't quite as good as we thought they were, but it's such a competitive division, you can't afford to fall behind too much, because I'm not sure there's going to be a wild card team out of this division when it's all said and done. And if you fall too far behind the Ravens, who are just they're just running away with this thing at this point. Maybe not running away. The Steelers are 1-1 after their game in week 2, but there's the reality where the Ravens could run away with this one at the end of the day, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the Bengals are doing. I mean, they just cut La'el Collins too. That didn't work out with an injury, so he gets cut and kicked to the curb. Guess it all works out for Jonah Williams in the end. Wanted a trade? How would you like the right tackle starting spot instead? Deal. I will take that. Let's do that, shall we? I still haven't signed an extension though, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. I don't know. It's 2 weeks into the season, so I'm not really overreacting. But at this point, if Joe Burrow doesn't get healthy, they are in quite an awkward predicament, because they do not have the most talented defense in the world this year. They lost a lot in the offseason with those 2 starting safeties, had some attrition on the outside. That front seven's still solid, but man, this could end up being one of those seasons where they're just out of the race, unfortunately, just because the margin of error is so slim. I mean, they give up 415 yards of offense to the Ravens in this one, gain less than 300 on the other side. It could be a tough season over there in Cincinnati. We'll see what happens. KC played the Jags. They were in Jacksonville for that one. Absolute slop fest. Rock fight the entire way through. Kansas City ends up eking one out 17-9. They looked terrible in the first 2 games, but they are 1-1. Could be a lot worse. Travis Kelce was back, and I think he got a touchdown in this one. I could be wrong on that. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, Travis Kelce was one of the people that scored a touchdown. He scored one in the third quarter. I think I might sneeze. No, this is the worst. There it is. That's the sneeze right there. Man, that's a good feeling. That is a good feeling right there when you sneeze. But I digress on that front. Just a sloppy game on both sides of the ball, but luckily for them, after the Jacksonville Jaguars just ran all over the Colts in the first game of the season, turns out adding a guy like Chris Jones back into your defense makes you a whole lot better. And the run game that's been so good for the Jaguars with Travis Etienne in there, absolutely stoned with Chris Jones back in the game. Etienne only ended the game with 40 yards when it was all said and done. They didn't score they didn't score a touchdown at all in this game, whether it be offensive or otherwise. Christian Kirk had himself a hell of a day, but he had over half of Trevor Lawrence's passing yards. He had 110 yards on the day, which should tell you how Trevor Lawrence did. Just a dominant performance by the Kansas City Chiefs defense. And I mean, the offense has some things to figure out. They don't really have a number one wide receiver. Their number one receiver is Travis Kelce. Who comes in after that? I mean, Justin Watson's been the one that's playing the best. Kadarius Toney's good for a flash every so often. Outside of that, Sky Moore had an okay game in this one. It's just, you have Patrick Mahomes in there, so you can only get so bad. But man, the cupboard is looking as bare as it has ever looked in Kansas City, even more so than it did last year. I mean, where is MVS? He was signed to this team to have a bit of a downfield presence. He's been, just a ghost. He's not been there at all throughout the course of this season. That's something that could come back to bite them when you're facing, playoff competition in a playoff setting. It's something they're going to have to figure out throughout the course of this year, and I'm not sure how they do it. Someone's going to have to step up in there outside of Travis Kelce. Otherwise, it's going to be, AFC Championship, maybe Super Bowl. I have a hard time seeing it with the competition that's out there. The margins are thin at the top. Maybe not in this division overall, because I think they're probably going to win this division with ease. They're the best team by far in that division, so I don't think that's going to be anything to worry about. But when you get down to the playoffs, divisional wild card, maybe even if they don't necessarily have the greatest regular season championship game. I don't know how far they're going to get this year. And yes, they have Patrick Mahomes, so that's sealing a Super Bowl every single year. But without that top end sort of wide receiver group and just receiver group in general, what's going to happen when they face off against an elite defensive team in the playoffs? It's maybe it's not the year for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I have a hard time counting them out when they have the greatest quarterback of all time on their team. Outside of that, I mean, Jacksonville, you're going to lose these every once in a while. You just got to keep on going. Your division absolutely stinks. You're still the best team in that division, so just keep the faith, keep on chugging. Times are going to get better from here, but this was just a bad offensive performance, really, for the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game. All right, LA Chargers, man, they stink. They are just not very good. The offense is spectacular. The offense does its job. They just went up against Mike Vrabel in this one, and lo and behold, Justin Herbert's great. They have no running game. Keenan Allen had a great game. Had a solid passing game overall for Justin Herbert, like I said, but you faced off against the Tennessee Titans, and this is just what Mike Vrabel does. He absolutely stonewalls you on the ground, gets you into a rock fight throughout the course of a game, keeps it kind of low scoring. Didn't really keep it low scoring in this one. He just finds a way to win. Final in overtime, they get a 27-24 victory over the Los Angeles Chargers, and the seat is getting unbearably heated for Brandon Staley over there with the LA Chargers. Let me tell you, man, it's tough. It is tough over there. I made the point last week. I'm not sure I would have brought Brandon Staley back after the way they lost in the playoffs, getting a 27-0 lead and then ultimately losing the game. I'm not sure I would have brought him back even after that, but man, the way they've started this season, and this is a third consecutive season with the Los Angeles Chargers that his defense has just been terrible, just awful. And I mean, it's only 2 games, but they look like the exact same team as the other 2 years that Brandon Staley has been there. I mean, Justin Herbert looks fantastic. He's slinging the ball around. I mean, when Austin Eckler's in there, which he wasn't for this one, but when Austin Eckler's in there, he provides so much juice for you out of the backfield. Offense is rolling, and that defense, which is supposed to be the calling card for Brandon Staley coming in. That's why he was hired. He was a defensive coordinator, former quarterback, but defensive coordinator, quote-unquote guru with the Los Angeles Rams before he got hired as the head coach for the Chargers. His defense has been terrible, awful. Every single year he has been with the team. And if you're not making the defense good, the offense is what's winning you games most of the time. Your teams are horrendously undisciplined, so many penalties, so many bad plays, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Why are you still around? Like, it sucks for Brandon Staley. Seems like a good guy, but at the end of the day, I'm just not sure how good he is as a head coach. Open to being proven wrong, but through 2 full seasons going into a third year, the evidence to the contrary is negligible at best. So I'm not sure how long Brandon Staley has over there. Of all the coaches in the league right now, he feels like the clearest, like, dead man walking among the coaching ranks. I'm not sure where they go from here, but man, right now the Chargers are the Chargers, and that's really all I can say about them. Tennessee Titans wise, though, I mean, Ryan Tannehill, this is just who he is. This is just crazy levels of inconsistency. He'll have 3 interceptions one game, and in the next game he'll go 20 for 24, over 10 yards per attempt, touchdown passing, a touchdown rushing. Just ho-hum being one of the most spectacular quarterbacks in the league. I mean, just the roller coasters this guy goes on. But you got a good Ryan Tannehill game in this one because you're playing against the Chargers defense, which helps just about everyone, I would imagine. He played really well in this one. Derrick Henry didn't even have a really good game. He rushed it for 25 times, but only 80 yards. Got a touchdown. That's really all they needed from him. Treylon Burks looked good. I mean, all the best plays coming on the defensive side of the ball, though. I mean, Kevin Byard, stud, got 12 tackles, led the team in tackles. Azeez Al-Shaair was tied for second with with 8 big-time free agent acquisition there over the course of the offseason. You got a sack for Jeff Simmons, sack for Danico Autry, shout out Hail State, let's go. Harold Landry got a sack as well coming off that ACL that he suffered at the beginning of last season. They got so many plays from the defensive side of the ball, and they always seem to with the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel, and again, this roster, especially on offense, is not that good. They are just not up to snuff for most teams. When you got Mike Vrabel there, you have got a chance in every single game. Not to mention how god-awful that division is. They could still very much be in the hunt to win this thing when it's all said and done, just because they have Mike Vrabel. And so long as you have Mike Vrabel, you can put a stick figure and a bunch of toothpicks out there. He'll find a way to squeeze 7 or 8 wins out of that team. That's just who he is as a coach. Love him. Certainly a much better. I mean, imagine if the Los Angeles Chargers had a Mike Vrabel out there. That would be fun. Unfortunately, you got a Brandon Staley in there, and I don't mean to rag too much on Brandon Staley. He's having a tough time right now. But Mike Vrabel, absolute stud. Love to see him doing his thing out there. Let me see what else we got. Yes, Seattle eked one out versus Detroit. Really just a fun game in general. I think this is the third straight season where they just absolutely, third or fourth straight season or fourth straight matchup where they just absolutely demolished the over. 37-31 the final. I think the over-under was like in the high mid-40s or something like that. I think 47.5 was the line or something along those lines. And I mean, they end up scoring 68 total, just absolutely smashed that. Just a fun back and forth game. Neither of these teams have a very good defense. Both of these teams have solid offenses between Ben Johnson, Shane Waldron. I mean, the resurgence of Jared Goff has been nothing short of inspirational. Going from #1 overall pick to playing well in the NFL. Who could have thunk it? Who could have thunk it? These are what movies are made out of right here. But I mean, Geno Smith, that's an actual movie right there. I mean, he was a backup for a decade of his career, steps in, gets a chance with a solid offensive coordinator in Seattle, and just balls out. Love to see that. That's fantastic. I'm not going to go down that tangent. We're gonna be off on like 10-15 minutes if I start doing that. I'll put it to you short. I don't like sports movies. You could say that's movie material. If you like those sorts of things, yeah, Geno Smith is movie material. Sports movies kind of stink though. I'm gonna leave it at that. A big loss for the Detroit Lions in this one. Free agent acquisition, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He tore his pec, got surgery. He'll be out for the season, and that was kind of one of those pieces that held this secondary together. The Lions might be literally the exact same team they were last year. Super fun offense, defense that can't stop a nosebleed. In translation, probably bet the over on them in most weeks. That's a safe assumption for the most part. Seattle getting the win though, much needed after how they played last week versus the Rams. They're still right in the thick of things. They're tied for second in the division right now, just humming along, getting wins where they can. They're not going to catch the 49ers, but who's to say they can't sneak into the playoffs with a 6 or 7 seed, something like that. Maybe even a 5, not a 4, but maybe a 5 seed if things go their way throughout the course of the year. Get out of here, you stupid fruit fly. Still flying in my face. How disrespectful are you? Houston Texans stink. Indy beat them 31-20. Anthony Richardson, his helmet is a magnet for other helmets, apparently. He just keeps on getting killed. He went out of this game with a concussion. Gardner Minshew just diced up the Houston Texans. Anthony Richardson might actually be out for week 3, which would stink, but kind of highlights what I'm harping on here. He has to find a way to protect himself, but he also might just be one of those guys that's here for a good time, not a long time. He's a physical freak. His best attribute at this point in his development is his legs, his running ability. So you might just have to ride with that, unfortunately. Injuries are going to happen along the way, but it is what it is right now. That's kind of why you bring Shane Steichen in, though, isn't it? So you can highlight the running game a little bit more. But so that kind of stinks for the Indianapolis Colts. They don't have any running backs either because, Jonathan Taylor is still MIA. The Texans, though, my goodness, their defense is not good. C.J. Stroud might get sacked 50,000 times this year. I think he got sacked like, a bunch of times over the first two. I don't want to say anything too definitive. I think it's like double-digit sacks over the first 2 weeks, though. He is on pace to get absolutely crushed this season. It's really hurting them that Titus Howard is out. He's still got Laramie Tunsil in there, but Laramie Tunsil can't play every single position at the same time on the offensive line. There's cracks everywhere. That's, Houston Texans might be in line for the number 1 overall pick again, except for they traded their first round picks. So yeah, that's unfortunate. At least you got Will Anderson out of it. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool if nothing else. Indianapolis Colts, though, 1-1 now. I don't know how good this team is, but again, their division stinks, so they could finish third, they could finish first. If Anthony Richardson stays in there, at the very least, they got some juice. They got like no wide receivers outside of Michael Pittman. The defenses looked, suspect. Isaiah Rodgers getting suspended for the ultimate idiot test of all time. He's not in there right now. I don't know who they got in the secondary right now, quite frankly. So, yes, Zaire Franklin and Shaq Leonard are very good players, but outside of that, coverage looking a little bare on the defensive side of the ball. And Houston on offense, it still isn't even really that good with C.J. Stroud at the helm right now. So giving up 20 points to them is not a fun sign. Giving up 30 points last week to Jags certainly doesn't make you feel good if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, but this is a culture building year. It's a culture building year in both of these cities, so you know what? Prepare for pain. It's going to happen sometimes. Chicago, they lose by 10 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are now 2-0. But also keep in mind that the Bears started 2-1 last year and had the number 1 overall pick, so nothing is impossible. The Buccaneers could still crumble. It could still happen. But they beat Chicago 27-17. Baker Mayfield looked downright serviceable once again, and it is only 2 games in the season, so I can't start dancing, doing my tippity taps on the grave just yet. But I will say it is moments like these why I just let the Bears fans just, build themselves up. Man, Justin Fields is looking so accurate right now. This offense looks so good with DJ Moore in there. The Chicago Bears might win the division. These are the types of things that these delusional Bears fans were saying in the lead up in the preseason from watching it, and I just let it happen. I just sit back, let them have their good times, because I knew this was coming. They are now 0-2. Justin Fields looks like the Justin Fields at the beginning of last season, the guy that's not running the ball at all, the guy that can't seem to hit the broadside of a barn with his passes most times. He's got inconsistent accuracy, and they won't run him like his best attribute, quite frankly. The defense is just as bad as it was last year for the most part. Maybe a little bit better with the players you added in there, but the secondary is still a goddamn mess. You just don't have the horses to keep up with the teams around you, and even with the Vikings being as bad as they are, the Bears are still the worst team in the NFC North right now, and I knew this was going to happen. Watching your elation, Bears fans, just turn into despair and sorrow like that. Oh man, my season is going bad, but sometimes you just need to see someone else hurt, and seeing the Bears hurt, man, that's it. It warms my cold, dead heart to see them unhappy. I'll tell you that right now. Times are going to be rough, and also I listened to the little Justin Fields press conference that came out over the course of the last day or so. Chill out, but let's chill out. Let's stop headline grabbing right now. He said maybe it was a little bit too honest in the in his press conference the other day. He was asked like, well, why aren't you playing like yourself? That was what he was referring to. Is I got to get back to playing like myself, which, by the way, I'm not going to make it one of my official bets because I don't care to go look up the line. But whatever the over-under for Justin Fields' rushing yards prop is this week, hammer that over. He's going to run so much more than he has to and probably get close to 100 yards, probably get a touchdown, probably run a 50-yard run where you're like, Jesus Christ, there's only like 1 or 2 guys in the entire league that can do that at the quarterback position. So hammer his rushing over, that's to say that. But when asked like why he wasn't playing like himself, he started by saying coaching, maybe, but there's other factors like he went off on a whole list, but that's the coaching is what kind of grab the headlines, if you will. And I think it was a little bit taken out of context because he just said it was a one-off thing, and then he went off on a whole long tangent about what he can do better, like just simplifying the game, making it so just playing on instinct rather than thinking too much for the most part. Or I think really in the context of coaching, he clarified too, like there's not too many coaches. It's just like there's a lot of information, and sometimes it's better to just not have all that information. Just simplify the game. Which, by the way, if I'm hearing that from my starting quarterback, boy, am I worried about the future of this offense. But that's another point that's neither here nor there. I like Justin Fields. I think if he was in a better situation, he could actually turn into something good. The problem is he's with the Chicago Bears, so. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tampa Bay Buccaneers, by the way, 2-0, tied for the lead in that division with the Saints. That other Southern division's not that good either. I mean, I think the Falcons are right up there as well. I think the Falcons are going to end up winning that division, but it could be a close race right till the very end in Tampa Bay. I mean, the names on the roster aren't totally bad. The offensive line is not totally giving up on him just yet, so hey, maybe they could turn in a good performance at the end of this year. New York Giants, man, the Arizona Cardinals. The New York Giants might not be good this year. They might be bad, but the Arizona Cardinals jumped out to I believe it was either a 21-0 or a 28-0 lead on the New York Giants, and they lost 31-28. That is tough. The Cardinals are just terrible. They are just bad. And they've been feisty. I'll give them that. They've been feisty over the first couple weeks. I think Jonathan Gannon, goofy guy in the light of the media, but ultimately I think he's doing a good job over there. He's getting the boys playing, if nothing else, for pride. He's got other people worrying about the actual tactical stuff, but he's got the boys playing. It seems like a team that is motivated, if nothing else, but they just stink. And now they're talking about, I think Budda Baker just went on IR. There's talk about him maybe going to the Eagles. That could be a fun thing for them. The Eagles need a safety in there, and adding Budda Baker would be far and away the best option if he's available once he's healthy again. But, man, you see that going out the door as well for the Cardinals. They might have the worst defense in the league. They're still starting Josh Dobbs on offense. Will they even bring Kyler Murray back? Are they going to play Kyler Murray knowing that they're going to trade him because they're going to be so far and away the number 1 overall pick, and they're just going to draft Caleb Williams? I don't know. I don't know, but I can tell you right now, Arizona is... Their very worst draft position is going to be top 5. I'll say that right this second. This Arizona Cardinals team absolutely stinks. And the Giants might not be far behind them either. The Giants' defense has been god-awful this year. They have been pounded into dust. Well, they got pounded into the dust by the Dallas Cowboys. They almost got pounded into dust by the Arizona Cardinals. There's only so much that Wink Martindale can do. Kayvon Thibodeau's not been playing well this season. The secondary, you can see the loss of Julian Love all over these last 2 performances that Giants secondary has had. It's just not... He's such an important player. Losing him to Seattle was such a big loss for Wink Martindale's defense. And when Thibodeau is not getting to the quarterback like you drafted him to, it puts you in a pretty awkward situation. And you're just seeing that from the Giants. They can't stop anyone this year. I have a hard time seeing them make the playoffs too. They beat the Vikings last year in the playoffs, so I kind of want to tread lightly here at the risk of being called a homer, but better offense, I would say, the Vikings have. Similar defenses. The Vikings might be better, and I don't think the Vikings are a playoff team. So that should tell you where you're at as a Giants organization right now. Might have just been a matchup of 2 non-playoff teams, and I think that might be what it ultimately ended up being there. Let's keep it moving, though. Those are 2 teams I don't necessarily need to worry about. San Francisco, I bet the under on this game, and you know what? Hey, credit to Sean McVay, man. He is a hell of an offensive coach. Matt Stafford is a hell of a quarterback still. Puka Nacua, as the name actually goes. Fun name, fantastic name. Slipped all the way to the 5th round in this past draft because of injuries at a BYU, but he has been spectacular spectacular so far this season. Has like 20 some odd receptions, shattered the record for receptions in the first 2 games of his career. He has stepped into that Cooper Kupp role just seamlessly. Once you have Cooper Kupp back, you got a legit, I mean, they haven't actually had like a legit 1-2 punch at wide receiver since Sean McVay has been there. I think Allen Robinson was supposed to be that, but he didn't end up looking very good. Van Jefferson was supposed to grow into that role. He never quite got there. It's really just been Cooper Kupp and Gerald Everett's a solid tight end, but that's pretty much it. You just had Cooper Kupp and a bunch of dudes out there. Adding Puka Nacua into this mix, Mr. Puka Nacua could really help out this offense, and maybe the Rams won't be the worst team in the NFC at the end of the year. Maybe that will just be Arizona in a league all of its own. They look like a competently built, competently coached football team. Defense got absolutely shredded by San Francisco in this one, though. They end up losing 30-23. San Francisco now 2-0. They look like a buzzsaw. I think they're the best team in the NFL right now, and I'm not sure there's a particularly close second. It is 2 weeks into the season, so hard to make such bold statements like that. But San Francisco, the defense did get kind of, worked around in this one a little bit. A little bit of familiarity there by Sean McVay. But Steve Wilks is calling a hell of a defense. You still got Nick Bosa. You still got Fred Warner. You got Javon Hargrave this offseason. The secondary lost some guys, which obviously has showed versus the Rams. But, man, they are looking just as strong as it did last year on defense. The offense with Christian McCaffrey is just otherworldly good. Brock Purdy's just playing the game on easy mode, making no mistakes whatsoever. Brandon Ayuk looks good. Debo, George Kittle. I mean, the list just goes. The best left tackle in the entire league with Trent Williams. It is shocking that after what they gave up to get Trey Lance, they were able to put together a legitimate Super Bowl roster with what they had. And it's spectacular. It's absolutely spectacular. Right now, the San Francisco 49ers are the front runners, I would say, in the league. But one team that has a pretty good argument at this point in the season to be right there with them, the Dallas Cowboys. And yes, they played the lifeless husk of a Jets offense this past week, but beating the Giants 40-0 in week 1. Beating the Jets now 30-10 in week 2. Just the way that defense is playing. Micah Parsons is looking like he might win Defensive Player of the Year like I thought he would before the season started. Trayvon Diggs at cornerback is also playing out of his mind. Malik Hooker back there at safety has really, had a career renaissance with the Cowboys after getting traded there. Or did he get traded or did he get drafted? I don't know, but he's been spectacular with the Cowboys. You got DeMarcus Lawrence over there, which just ho-hum, the best second pass rusher in the entire league. If he's getting one-on-one coverage on the other side of Micah Parsons, you are going to be in just a world of hurt. The defensive line is playing well, top to bottom. They don't have great linebackers, but when they got everything else in place around them, really got Leighton Vander Esch to hold it all together, and what else do you really need? They have been just mowing teams down so far this year. And yes, it is through 2 weeks, and frankly, I'm a lot more hesitant about the Dallas Cowboys just because, yes, the defense has been spectacular. CeeDee Lamb, Mike McCarthy, hey, if this keeps working out this way, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say I was wrong about Mike McCarthy, because so far he's looked like a downright competent play caller so far this year. I did not expect that to happen. Seems like he has kind of evolved a little bit with the times, kind of updated some things in the offense, and now the offense looks just beautiful, quite frankly. It's looked very good so far this year, but this is also the Dallas Cowboys. They did start 6-0, I believe, last year, and then just ended up losing in the first round of the playoffs again. So that's either the first or the second round. They just lost in the playoffs again. That's what they always do. Didn't get to the NFC Championship. And really, I'm just I won't believe it until I just see it right in front of my face mode for the Cowboys. From here until the end of time, quite frankly. They can do whatever they want in the regular season until they at least go to an NFC Championship. I have a hard time taking the Dallas Cowboys seriously. And it's sad, I suppose, because they really do. They have a fantastic defense. Dan Quinn is calling a hell of a defense out there. Like I said, Mike McCarthy's calling a hell of an offense right now. Dak is a top 10 quarterback. CeeDee Lamb's a fantastic wide receiver. Brandon Cooks is, he's doing all right out there. You really only need him to do all right. Hey, Lou Schoonmaker got a touchdown in this one, rookie tight end they drafted out of Michigan. Things seem to be falling in place for the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't know. I've seen this movie before. I'm not quick to trust anymore like I have been in the past. If they continue to prove it, I will admit my flaws with Mike McCarthy. I'll hop on the hype train, but through week 2, I'm just not comfortable handing the Cowboys their flowers just yet. Washington won a wild one with the Denver Broncos. Ended up winning 35-33. I did not watch or keep up with most of this game, but what I did see was the last sequence with Russell Wilson. It's just a Hail Mary play. Usually it's one of those things where the ball goes up, it may get to the end zone, but ultimately, so long as the defense just bats that thing down, the game ends, you're all good, everyone goes home, and Washington walks off with a win. Instead, Washington tips the ball up in the air, it kind of juggles around for a little bit, and I can't remember who ended up catching the Hail Mary, but someone on the Broncos caught the Hail Mary, touchdown with 0 seconds on the clock. They need a 2-point conversion to go out there and send it to overtime. Unfortunately, the refs let the DB get away with absolute robbery. I mean, just mugged the hell out of him. Clear pass interference that wasn't called, but since it wasn't called, pass fell incomplete on that 2-point conversion, and the Broncos end up losing by 2 points. Back-to-back heartbreaking losses to start the year for the Denver Broncos. But hey, 2-0 start for the Washington Commies. The red wave is just surging over the league at this point. I mean, Eric Bieniemy, man, he is looking so good with the Washington Commanders right now. Sam Howell looks really good. I mean, the screen game has really helped Sam Howell out. I mean, he looked really good in this one. I mean, 27 of 39, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, Brian Robinson had a good game in this one, 2 touchdowns on the ground, over 4.5 yards per carry. Terry McLaurin got in on the action. He had himself a good game as well. I mean, they were just playing out of their mind, quite frankly. They were just really, really good in this game. They've been really, really good so far this season. And it is through 2 games, and I'm not sure they played. I mean, their opponents so far through the first 2 games, wow, easy for me to say, are a combined 0-4. So maybe not the greatest slate of opponents. Some questions about that defense right now, giving up 33 to Denver in this one after giving up a okay defense or offensive performance by the Arizona Cardinals in week 1. So something you probably got to worry about at the end of the day, but 2-0 is 2-0, and Eric Bieniemy has got the boys playing on offense. So vibes are high with the new Commies ownership group over there. They're selling out stadiums, which hasn't happened in Washington for a long time under that soulless human being they had owning the team before. Times are looking good ahead. I'm just not sure if this year is a year where it's going to happen, quite frankly. Looking forward to it maybe happening, though. It could be fun to watch unfold over the coming weeks, months, yada yada. All right, so getting to the final 3 games here of the past week. The Miami Dolphins, they take care of business versus the New England Patriots. New England looked bad. Mac Jones didn't look great. You almost had a big-time play on 4th down by Strange 69 over there. Cole Strange, the offensive lineman, catching a lateral from Mike Gesicki on that final offensive play for the New England Patriots. Almost getting the first down. Looked like he got the first down, but they overturned it on the replay. I didn't really watch it too intently because I was already asleep by the time that play happened. Just a tired little boy out there, but it was not a good start to the season for New England Patriots right now. That's the best way to describe it. They're 0-2 now. I think it's the first time they've been 0-2 since 2001, I want to say. The offense doesn't look awesome. Granted, you're going against a very good defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio, and they looked okay last week versus the Eagles. But, I mean, I'm just not sure they got a whole lot of talent on the outside, quite frankly. I mean, they've got Devontae Parker and Kendrick Bourne, who are pieces I like, quite frankly. But, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, they're okay. The offensive line is the real problem, though, when it's all said and done. I mean, the receivers are all right. The offensive line is just an absolute disaster. Cole Strange looks okay, but who the hell is on the rest of that line? They have been just sliced and diced all year. So I keep saying all year. The year literally just started, and it's the New England Patriots, so they could come back and make a season of this. I would almost expect them to, quite frankly. But it's not looked good so far this year. For Miami on the other side, though, man, that offense is starting to round into form. Mike McDaniel looks like he actually is being more conscious of the running game this season. They ran it for 30 times. There were 30 passes, 30 runs in this game. But Raheem Mostert had 121 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. It feels like last season definitely felt like Mike McDaniel's first year as an offensive play caller, kind of working out some kinks here and there, just kind of fine-tuning the craft. This year, Mike McDaniel has really seemed to have figured out mixing the run and the pass, doing it advantageously so both benefit. Ran the ball highly efficiently in this one against a really good defensive front for the Patriots. Tua still had a solid game in this one, over 8 yards per attempt, 70% completion, 21 of 30 if you want to do the math at home. Did throw an interception, but ultimately not a bad day overall. Didn't cost them the game at the end of the day, and that's what you really want. Raheem Mostert, like I said, really carried the weight for this Miami offense. And when you're playing a defense like the Patriots, only scoring 24 points, that's understandable. That's understandable, quite frankly. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill still had solid days. You limited the New England Patriots to only 17 points. The Vic Fangio hire looks like it is working out. Seeing Jalen Phillips, well, he wasn't playing in this game, but getting to see Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb rush opposite of each other throughout the course of the season, that's going to be a treat whenever Jalen Phillips gets back in there. This is just is a really good Miami Dolphins football team. It might end up being the best team in this AFC East division, which is still just an absolute gauntlet of a division, even with Aaron Rodgers going down for the Jets. The Bills are the Bills. The Patriots are going to be feisty basically no matter what. It's still going to be a fun division, and the Miami Dolphins might be the best team that is in that division. Going forward to the Monday night games, well, neither of them were particularly painless to watch, we'll just say. I mean, it was 6-3, I believe, or 6-6 at halftime for New Orleans versus Carolina. New Orleans ends up winning that one 20-17, by the way. Chris Olave had just a fantastic catch where he dove, batted the ball mid-air, corralled it with two hands, and then hit the ground, possessed through the ground. It was one of the most spectacular catches you'll see on a football field. He's a freak. He's insane. Michael Thomas, hopefully he continues to stay healthy, knock on wood there, that he does continue to stay healthy, but he's looked really good coming back. Jawan Johnson is over there. All Derek Carr has to be is serviceable, and they can do all right. I mean, especially when you got the skeleton key in Taysom Hill. You can get a lot of things done on offense, and that Carolina Panthers defense is no joke. So 20 points, you just get a win there, and that's, you feel good about that. But the Carolina Panthers on the other side, I mean, the New Orleans, I'm still not sure how good they are. The defense is very, very good. The offense is serviceable, which could end up making them the second or first best team in this division, quite frankly. Getting Alvin Kamara back next week, too, or I guess he's got to serve a 3-game suspension, so still off next week. The week after that, they'll have Alvin Kamara back. Physical player. We all forget physical player, Alvin Kamara. But the Carolina Panthers on the other side, they're pretty definitively the worst team in that NFC South right now. I mean, they have been terrible. I mean, that offensive line, the play from the preseason has carried over into the regular season. They haven't been able to get a whole lot going. They haven't been able to protect Bryce Young very well, quite frankly. Haven't been able to get the run game going too much. They haven't looked good so far this season. Bryce Young, I mean, looks like a real rookie quarterback right now. He doesn't have a whole lot of receivers to throw to. I mean, last week he had less than 4 yards per attempt. This week, didn't throw an interception, had a couple good runs in here, scattered throughout the game, but he looked like a guy whose number one receiver is Adam Thielen, which is just simply not what you want at this point in Adam Thielen's career. It's supposed to be DJ Chark, but Chark is dealing with a hamstring injury, and even then, even if he is full speed, having DJ Chark as your number one receiver isn't a great thing. Having Hayden Hurst around certainly helps, but not having a true number one wide receiver to lean on, that hurts him. That hurts him a lot. The defense is playing well, but that offense is an absolute disaster right now. They are not good at all. They appear to be right in line once again for a top-level pick. It's only through 2 weeks, so there is time for them to rectify this thing, but if that offensive line doesn't start playing better, they are not going to get anywhere this season. I didn't think they were probably going to get anywhere anyways, but I expected them to play a little bit better than they're playing right now. And they just lost Shaq Thompson for the season, too, with, torn tit. No, not a torn tit. He had a broken fibula. So basically just blew out his ankle, broke his ankle. He'll be out for the season with that. Shaq Thompson, star linebacker for the Carolina Panthers. So Frankie Louvu's real good. Also, J.C. Horn, hamstring injury. He might just be a guy that's never healthy, like, for a full season. You might get, like, a flash where you get one full healthy season, but that's going to be few and far between for those. It just feels like J.C. Horn's one of those injury-prone players, unfortunately, and it's a shame because he is spectacular. He's a great corner whenever he's out there. He's not out there enough, unfortunately. It is what it is. That Carolina defense is good. That Carolina offense is bad. They're probably not going to be very good this year. Let's talk about the other Monday night game, though. Cleveland going into Pittsburgh, and if you just compared offensive points, they would have won this game by, doing the quick math right now, they would have won this by double digits. Would have been 22-12. The problem is the Pittsburgh Steelers scored 2 touchdowns on defense, which made the final score 26-22. Pittsburgh gets the win. TJ Watt gets his first touchdown in regular season play. Did get a touchdown in a playoff game, which I would argue is much more important than a week 2 game, but who's to say? Not the NFL stats guys. I digress on that front. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think, was the other guy that had a touchdown in the first half as well. So the Pittsburgh defense looks vintage. You may be hearing a cacophony of calls to fire Matt Canada from the Steelers crowd out there, the Steelers faithful, and you know what? I'm not huge into calling for someone's job, but I do it all the time anyways, so why not come out here and do it once again with Matt Canada? I don't know why he came into this season as the offensive coordinator. Mike Tomlin is, hey, he's loyal. He's a damn good head coach, and he's loyal to the guys that he brings in and hires. If it was just about anyone else, it feels like he would have been fired after last season, just with how anemic the offense was. Comes in, the offense looks just about how it did the previous year under Matt Canada. So it feels like I'm not sure they'll pull the trigger in the middle of the season, because that's just not what the Steelers do, but it feels like Matt Canada's just a dead man walking at that offensive coordinator position. Feels like he's going to get replaced sooner or later, just because, the run game looks bad, the passing game looks bad. They're just not getting, the offensive line isn't awesome, which not necessarily Matt Canada's fault, but they're just not clicking right now. George Pickens is your lone bright spot, but George Pickens isn't the only good receiver on the team. It's a stale offense. Kenny Pickett has looked downright terrible so far this season in this Matt Canada offense. Looked a lot like it at the beginning of last year too, so feels like only a matter of time before this thing comes to an end. We reach our triumphant swan song conclusion here with Matt Canada as the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But for right now, that's who you got, and with that, you are probably a shade below the midway point there in the division. it's probably I'd say Baltimore up top, then still probably Cincinnati. Cleveland's bumping right up in there, and so is Pittsburgh. That's the thing about this division. I talked about it before. It's going to be competitive basically no matter what. So no one's really out of it at the end of the day, but it feels like the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the bottom half of that division, quite frankly. But with that, that is the that is your full week 2 slate. So let's look at week 3, the week ahead, if you will. Let's pull up the odds. You can all look at the odds yourself if you got a sports book, but let's just look it up though. I like to get a full picture of what the lines are looking like. All right. And I'll take this opportunity as it's kind of loading up right now and I get the right settings going to take a sip of this Gatorade. Hit the wrong button. Hit the wrong button. Yep, all markets. There we go. There we go. All right, so starting off with the Thursday night game, we've got the Giants at the 49ers. Current line is you can get -10 on the 49ers at BetMGM. If you're trying to bet on the Giants for some reason, it'd be +10 or 10.5. You can get that at FanDuel, DraftKings Sportsbook, PointsBet. Outside of that, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want that 10.5 number, go right ahead. I wouldn't put my hard-earned money on that, but it's it's your prerogative. Bet the beer money, not the rent money, if you do, because you're going to lose that in all likelihood. I'm staying away from that spread though. That made it sound like a sure thing for the 49ers. I don't know how good the Giants are this season, so I'm not sure the 49ers will just blow them out of the water. I'm pretty sure they will, but I'm not so confident in that I'm gonna lay that 10 down. Over under over is 44. You can get that at a smattering of places. FanDuel, Caesars has now moved to 44 as well. I got it at 45.5 or 44.5 on the under, and that is an official bet, by the way. That is the under for the Giants and 49ers. Book that. That is one of my bets this week. I think that the 49ers are going to absolutely strangle the Giants on offense, and I assume they're going to score a bunch of points in this one, but I ultimately don't see the Giants scoring more than like 10, 13, and even with that, I think at some point the 49ers are going to put it in cruise control. So under 44.5 is one of my bets for this week, and I'm feeling good about that one. Moving on to the 1 o'clock slate on Sunday, Chargers versus Vikings. This is another bet I have. I got it at FanDuel at 53.5 on the over. I'm taking that 50 times out of 50, quite frankly. They might score 60 or 70 points combined in this one. It's going to be an up and down game. Neither of these defenses are very good, and both offenses are very good. So, I mean, they could not they could not consciously set a number high enough for me not to take the over in this one. This should be a fun game. Unfortunately, I'll be at work, so unfortunately can't watch that, but it is what it is. Current line, this is basically a pick'em. It's like either minus one Chargers, I think, in most places, +1 on the Vikings side of things. It's pretty much a toss-up. You can get +1.5 on the Vikings at FanDuel right now. It's like -120, so I'm not sure if that just moved or if it's about to move back up to 1. Most places are at 1 right now, though. So if you really like the Vikings, I mean, really, just go bet on the money line. There's no point in betting +1.5, quite frankly. So just go bet the money line. But if you want to bet the spread for some reason, FanDuel's got you covered right now at +1.5. So go right ahead on that one. Hell, you can get -0.5 at PointsBet, which again, just bet the money line. There's no real reason to do that on the Chargers, but yeah, that's the way it's looking right now. That should be a really fun game that I'm not going to be able to watch. Another 1 o'clock game, Bills at Commanders. Bills currently favored by 6.5, and that's pretty much across all markets. They're pretty consensus about that one. Over under is 43.5 in most places. You can get 44 at DraftKings if you're looking at the under. I got no opinions on this one. I think the Commanders might be good enough to keep this one close, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know about this one at all, so I'm staying away, quite frankly. But could be fun. Could be just a blowout for the Bills. I don't see it going the other way with the Commanders blowing out the Bills, though. Quite frankly, it's either going to be a close game or a Bills blowout, I think. But that's not a good enough hunch for me to bet anything on. So we're staying away. We're staying away. Saints at the Packers. Packers favored by 2. Over under is you can get 42.5 at most places. You get 42 at DraftKings if you're trying to bet the over. As far as the spread, I'm still not sure how good the Packers are, quite frankly. I think the Saints are a pretty good defense. I think we're going to find out a lot about Jordan Love this week. Just how good he ultimately, well, maybe not a definitive answer, but we'll start getting a better idea of how good Jordan Love truly is this week against that Saints secondary. The Saints offense, I'm not really sure how good they are. I have no great read on who's going to win this game, so staying away, and I'm staying the hell away from that over-under. It's too low to bet the under, and I don't believe enough in both of these offenses to score on those respective defenses to bet the over, so we are poison, staying away from it. All right, Falcons are at the Lions. This is an intriguing over-under right now, folks. It's moved to 46 in some places, 46.5 actually, at FanDuel Sportsbook. You can still get, well, it's 46.5 in a bunch of places. You can still get 46 at Caesars. BetMGM is still giving you 46 at this point. And that's pretty much it. If you want to bet the over, which is an intriguing over, I didn't put it on my personal bets, but might be one I just throw a couple shekels on Sunday if I win some bets on Saturday. Intriguing over there at 46, though. I'm not including it in this public bet slip. Might bet it later, though. Would not blame you if you bet that over 46 because, I mean, the Lions' defense is not very good. The Falcons have a good offense. The Lions have a really good offense, too. Maybe the Falcons end up pulling up an upset on the road. Maybe they control this game on defense a little bit more than I'm expecting. But this one could be fun. This one could be real fun. I mean, they gave up 24 to the Packers last week and scored 25 on the other side. I could see them definitely eclipsing that, and that is much good enough. Much good enough. That's not proper grammar. More than good enough. That's what I was looking for to slam the over. So I'm feeling good about that. I just don't know who's going to win, and I don't trust enough in Desmond Ridder to take the plus 3.5 for the Falcons in this game. So I'm staying away. I'm staying away outside of maybe betting the over off the record, but I'm staying away from that one for the most part. Titans-Browns. This one could be an absolute rock fight. Titans are currently 3.5-point underdogs on the road to the Browns. Browns defense has played very well in this. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, by the way, Nick Chubb his knee just exploded on Monday night. They didn't show the replay on TV, but guys, the internet's out there, and I respect your class to just make the internet work a little bit harder and do their own slow motioning, but it didn't stop the internet. It was still up in roughly 5 minutes. 5 minutes after the injury happened, someone was showing me a slow motion of Nick Chubb's knee just disintegrating on live television. And it was a hyperextension. Still haven't heard the exact full scale of the injuries. He's done for the season, though. That was pretty clear to see. Who knows when he'll be back in the lineup. The Browns did, however, old face, same place, Kareem Hunt back with the Cleveland Browns on an up to $4 million contract this year. He ends up getting the money that he was looking for, and it just made too much damn sense for that not to happen. So there's a good chance that Kareem Hunt starts in this game, but if not, you got Jerome Ford starting over there. But I'm still not sure, no matter who you got in there, they're going to get a whole lot of momentum against this Tennessee Titans run defense. And on the other side, the Titans run into the teeth of that vaunted Browns defense. I'm not sure they're going to get a whole lot of momentum there either. The over-under is 39.5 across pretty much all the books. They feel pretty in lockstep on this one. Would not be shocked at all if you did the under. It's far too low a number for my taste to bet on it, but I would not be shocked at all if the under hit. If I had a lean, it would be the Titans, just because Mike Vrabel is, I mean, he's an absolute guru at just making something out of nothing, quite frankly. And I just feel like he may find a way to win this game. I'm not betting my hard-earned money on this one, though. I'm staying away for the most part. Texans Jaguars, another 1 o'clock matchup. This one opened at -7 for the Jaguars. It has moved to 9.5 in a lot of places. You can still get it at 8.5 with the FanDuel Sportsbook if you are looking to bet the Jaguars on the spread. If you're looking for the Texans for some reason, plus 9.5 at most other places outside of FanDuel. FanDuel's number is incredibly low in favor of the Jaguars, but incredibly low nonetheless. So if you really believe in the Jaguars and you believe they're going to run the Texans off the field, FanDuel is your spot for betting, quite frankly. So go ahead, snatch that one up. I'm still not sure enough. I hate betting 8.5 point spreads in NFL games, quite frankly. I don't like betting big spreads in NFL games unless I'm betting an underdog, so I'm probably going to stay away from that one. The Jaguars are probably going to cover and win by like 20 or 30, but I don't know. I'm just a big old bitch. Just a big old bitch who just doesn't feel like laying down the money on that large spread. So we're staying away from that as well. Over-unders at 44. I don't feel any type of way about that. So have at it for what you want to do there. Patriots versus Jets. You want to talk about a gross over-under. The line is set at 36.5 or 37 in most places. Just grody. And there's a real chance they hit the under, too. These are two offenses that aren't playing very well, and they're going up against some really vaunted defenses for both the Jets and the Patriots. This feels like it's got rock fight written all over it. And when it's a rock fight, Patriots are currently favored by 2.5. I'm tempted to add that one, quite frankly, but I just don't trust I don't trust Mac Jones. I don't trust the Patriots enough. -2.5 on the road at the Jets. And let's just say if I win some bets on Saturday, that's another one I'm adding to the bet slip at -2.5. I don't see the Jets necessarily coming out here and winning this one with Zach Wilson at the helm. That's a grody one. That's a sickos game right there. I mean, Lord have mercy on you if you have to watch that one. Broncos are playing at the Dolphins. Dolphins are favored by 6.5. You can get that pretty much everywhere. Over-unders at 48.5, which I think might be a little bit too high, just because I'm not sure the Broncos are going to be able to score that well on the Dolphins defense. I think the Dolphins should probably win this one. Big shocker. They're favored by a touchdown, but that feels like something where they should be able to come out here and take care of business. The Broncos really aren't that good. Russell Wilson's still not that good, and the Dolphins are one of the best teams in the AFC, so I expect them to handle business there. Colts versus the Ravens. Ravens are favored by 7.5. I think that kind of reflects the probability that Anthony Richardson isn't going to play. If Anthony Richardson was playing, I think the line would be a little bit slimmer, but it's 7.5 in all places right now. I'm staying away from that one. Over-unders at 45, 45.5 in some places, staying away from that one too. Moving on to the 4 o'clock games, we've got Panthers at Seahawks. Over-under set at 42, which kind of tells you what Vegas thinks of the Panthers offense. Really the Seahawks offense too against this Panthers defense, but mainly the Panthers offense, I would say. Opened up at -4 in favor of the Seahawks. It's now ballooned to 6 in pretty much all locations right now. It feels like a game that the Seahawks should cover, but once again, I'm staying away from that one. Cowboys play the Cardinals. It's, for some reason, the line opened at 7. Don't know why it opened at 7, but it opened at 7. Now it's at 12.5 in most places. You can get it at 12 on Caesars and DraftKings right now. Oh, man, this is just going to be... Prepare for pain, Cardinals fans, because they've just... The Cowboys have been a buzzsaw for bad teams through 2 weeks, and I would imagine it's going to be the exact same story in this game. Over-under is at 43, and I may even lean the under because I don't think the Cardinals are going to score more than 10 points, quite frankly. Another 4 o'clock game. The Bears are visiting the Chiefs. Another 12.5 point line. I'm just not sure. I inherently distrust the Bears, but again, it's such a large number, and the Bears aren't. I mean, they're not far off from the Cardinals, but they're not the Cardinals. So I think, Justin Fields gets back to quote-unquote playing like himself, runs a lot more in this game, maybe makes it kind of, interesting and lively. Still think the Chiefs are going to beat the shit out of them, quite frankly, but Bears might make it competitive, so I'm staying away from the over-under. I'm not sure how much... I'm staying away from the spread. Also staying away from the over-under just because I'm not really sure how much this Bears offense can score against Chris Jones and that Kansas City defense, which is, surprisingly looking pretty solid through 2 games this year. And especially with Chris Jones back in there at 47 and a half. That's just too rich for my blood. I'll pass. What else we got? Steelers versus Raiders on Sunday night. Gross. I hate you. I hate you all for scheduling this thing in a prime time slot. But Steelers are 3-point underdogs. You get 2.5 in most places. Points bets got them at 3. Yeah, I'm not enough of a sicko to bet on this game. I don't know what either of these teams are, quite frankly. I feel like the Steelers are rounding to form at some point here, but terrible offense, really good defense. Raiders just are the Raiders. What more needs to be said there? I'm not enough, like I said, not enough of a sicko to bet on this one, therefore I will not. Over-under is 43, and I've got no lean either way on that. Got 2 Monday night games again this week. Eagles are taking on the Buccaneers. Gross. At least the Eagles are on the road. I still don't really believe in the Buccaneers, though, so this could be another absolute snooze fest. And the Rams are visiting the Bengals in the other Monday night game. Line is currently minus 2.5 in favor of the Bengals. Who knows what's going to happen in this game? This one might actually be a pretty good one. I don't know. Again, the Rams don't have a very good roster, but they've been super competitive over the first 2 weeks of the season, just hanging toe-to-toe with the San Francisco 49ers last week, who I think are the best team in the NFC, like I said. So, not a bad little spot for them to keep the momentum going. Still got a hobbled Joe Burrow. He was seen hobbling around after last week's game, so that's not something that's going to be fixed this week. Could take advantage. Aaron Donald is still there in the middle, being an absolute menace. Making Geno Smith just shit his pants on live TV. That's still happening. That could happen very easily to Joe Burrow. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to shit his pants, but it's not fun seeing Aaron Donald barrel down in your face and not being able to move out of the way. So, could be seeing a lot of that. Over-under is 44 or 43.5 in most places. I'm staying away from that one as well. I don't got a great read on what either of these offenses are going to do. I think that Rams-Bengals game might end up being a solid Monday night matchup when it's all said and done, though. I think that one might be the better game of the night between the Eagles-Buccaneers and the Rams-Bengals. With that, though, those are my that's the preview for next week. Easy for me to say once again. Oh, we're right at like a crisp hour and a half, so let me go over my bets. I got a couple in college and a couple in the NFL. First off, the NFL ones I already touched on them, but worth stating it again. Got the Chargers-Vikings over 53.5, which you can still get in FanDuel, I believe. Giants-Niners under 44.5, which I'm not sure you can get in most places, but there are still places you can get 44.5, so hop on that one while it is hot. And in the college ranks, I'm not sure you can get this number anymore, but we got it before it moved. Oregon State minus 2.5 versus Washington State. I just think they're a better football team. I think they're going to go out there and win on Saturday night, and they're going to do it, I don't know about convincingly, but I think that Oregon State goes on the road, gets a win. And Washington minus 21 at Cal. Cal is not very good, and Washington might be the best team in the nation. They're an absolute buzzsaw, and I think they buzzsaw Cal again this week. Give me the minus 21. 21 would be an asinine number for an NFL game, but in college, that's par for the course, baby. That is par for the course. I expect Washington to absolutely run Cal out of the stadium. They are on the road, yes, but I would imagine that home field advantage does not mean a damn thing against Michael Penix and the boys over there. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do going into Pac-12 play. This could be a big season for the Washington Huskies, but there you go. Those are my bets. Washington minus 21, Oregon State minus 2.5, Chargers Vikings over 53.5, Giants Niners under 44.5. Let's win all the games this week. Let's bet the beer money, not the rent money, and then win extra money for more beer. That is what the goal is. But thank you so much for tuning in. That was my week 2 recap, week 3 kind of betting preview. I don't know. Either way, that's all for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. We do this twice a week, as they say. Once on Tuesdays for college football, once on Thursdays for the NFL, until I just get tired of this and decide to switch it back around again. I think I've done this basically every football season I've done the podcast, so it is what it is at this point. It just is what it is. Follow me on Twitter at Caleb Verzak. Link will be in the description. Trying to think what else is there to get to. I mean, subscribe, rate, like, you get it. Go over to the YouTube if you're listening on Spotify or Apple. Go over to Spotify or Apple if you're listening on YouTube. Just subscribe on all platforms. Maybe share this thing. Help me grow this bad boy a little bit. If you want to contact the show, either shoot me a DM where I'll probably be more responsive on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck it's called nowadays. Or you can just go on over to unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com and shoot me an email. That will be down in the description as well, so you don't have to spell that out just from my saying. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. I've got no clue what I am talking about, but one thing I did learn this week, pepperoni, not Italian. It was invented by Italian Americans working for Hormel in 1915. So if you learned anything from this podcast today, just know Hormel, the American company, invented pepperoni, not the Italians. Have a good one, folks.